"Do you have an expired cake for my daughter?" A single dad heard everything. The bakery owner's face paled as she realized Mark had overheard everything, her staff laughing about the broke single dad, who couldn't afford a proper birthday cake for his little girl. What happened next would change both their lives forever, but not in the way anyone expected. I stood frozen in the doorway of Sweet Delight's bakery, my hand still gripping the handle. The laughter died instantly when they noticed me. 5 seconds earlier, I'd heard the blonde woman behind the counter say, "He'll probably be back asking for expired cakes again." So sad. Some people just shouldn't have kids if they can't afford them. My daughter Sophie's 7th birthday was tomorrow, and I had exactly $12.47 to make it special. "Can I help you, sir?" The owner, whose name tag read Claire, stepped forward with a professional smile that didn't reach her eyes. The 2 younger employees behind her suddenly found the floor fascinating. I almost turned and left. Almost. But then I thought of Sophie's face when I'd come home empty-handed, and something inside me hardened. "Yes," I said quietly. "Do you have an expired cake for my daughter?" The silence that followed was deafening. Claire's smile faltered. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" "An expired cake. Or one with a mistake. Anything discounted. My daughter's birthday is tomorrow, and my voice caught, and I hated myself for it. I can't afford your regular prices right now." The judgment in her eyes was unmistakable, but something else flickered there too. Was it shame? She glanced back at her employees, who were now pretending to be busy with inventory. "Let me check in the back," she said finally. While she was gone, I stared at the beautiful display cakes, each one more elaborate than the last. Sophie would love any of them. She'd been through so much since her mother left us 2 years ago, yet somehow maintained the brightest spirit of any child I'd ever known. Claire returned with a small chocolate cake. "This was a special order that wasn't picked up. It's perfectly fresh, but I can't sell it as new because it has a name on it already." The cake read, "Happy Birthday Emily," in pink frosting. "How much?" I asked, already knowing it would be more than I had. "It's yours," she said. "No charge." I stared at her, suspicious. "I don't want your pity." "It's not pity," she replied, though we both knew it was. "It's inventory management. This would go to waste otherwise." Pride told me to walk away. Love for my daughter made me stay. "Thank you," I managed, taking the cake. "Sophie will be thrilled." I turned to leave, but Claire called after me. "Wait." She hesitated. "I'm sorry about what you heard. That was unprofessional and unkind." I nodded stiffly and left without another word. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt content that reminds us of our shared humanity. The journey of this single father and the bakery owner is just beginning, and what happens next will leave you speechless. That night, after tucking Sophie into bed, I sat at our small kitchen table staring at the cake. Emily's cake. I considered trying to scrape off the name and rewrite it, but my decorating skills were non-existent. Sophie wouldn't care about the name anyway, she'd just be excited to have a cake. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of our ancient refrigerator and the occasional car passing outside. 2 years ago, we'd lived in a nice house in the suburbs. I'd had a good job in construction management. Caroline, my wife, had been a kindergarten teacher. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Then came the accident. The drunk driver walked away without a scratch. Caroline didn't walk away at all. The medical bills devoured our savings before she died, and grief destroyed what remained of my career. I missed deadlines, forgot meetings, snapped at coworkers. The termination was regrettable but necessary. Now I worked 2 part-time jobs, morning shifts at a warehouse and evening security at an office building, while Sophie stayed with our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Patel. The arrangement left me exhausted but kept a roof over our heads. Barely. I ran my finger along the edge of the cake box. Tomorrow, I'd make Sophie's birthday special somehow. She deserved that much. Morning came too quickly. I woke Sophie with our birthday tradition, tickles and a made-up birthday song that always made her giggle. "Happy birthday, princess," I said, kissing her forehead. Her eyes lit up. "Is today my party, Daddy?" My heart sank. There would be no party this year. No friends coming over, no decorations beyond the few dollar store streamers I'd bought. Not a big party, sweetheart. But we'll have cake, and Mrs. Patel will come over, and we'll play games. It'll be fun. Her smile dimmed only slightly. "That's okay. As long as you're there." I hugged her tight, hiding my face so she wouldn't see my tears. After dropping Sophie at Mrs. Patel's, I headed to the warehouse. My supervisor, Frank, noticed my distraction. "Everything okay, Mark?" he asked during our break. "It's Sophie's birthday," I explained. "Just trying to figure out how to make it special on a budget." Frank nodded sympathetically. "Been there. My kids are grown now, but there were some lean years." When my shift ended, Frank handed me an envelope. "The guys took up a collection. It's not much, but maybe it'll help." Inside was $85 in small bills. I tried to refuse, but Frank wouldn't hear of it. "We've all needed help sometimes," he said simply. "Pay it forward when you can." With the unexpected windfall, I stopped at a toy store and bought the art set Sophie had been eyeing for months. Then I picked up balloons, candles, and a small present from Mrs. Patel. When I arrived at Sweet Delights to pick up the cake, Claire was at the counter again. She looked surprised to see me. "I'm here for the cake," I said awkwardly. "For Sophie." "Of course." She disappeared into the back and returned with a box much larger than the one I'd seen yesterday. When she opened it, I was stunned. Inside wasn't Emily's cake, but a beautiful new creation. It featured a rainbow with clouds and the words, "Happy 7th birthday Sophie," in perfect script. Tiny fondant paintbrushes and art supplies decorated the borders. "What is this?" I asked, confused. Claire looked uncomfortable. "I made a new one." I couldn't stop thinking about yesterday. "I can't afford this," I said flatly. "It's already paid for," she insisted. "Please take it." "By who?" "By me," she admitted. "Please. Let me do this one thing." I wanted to refuse. My pride was already bruised. But the cake was so perfect, so exactly what Sophie would love. "How did you know?" I asked. "About the art supplies?" Claire blushed. "I might have looked you up online. Your profile picture is you and Sophie at an art museum." I took a chance. It was both thoughtful and slightly unsettling. But the cake was beautiful. "Thank you," I said finally. "This will make her day." As I turned to leave, Claire called after me again. "Mark? I'm really sorry about what happened. What I said was inexcusable." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak, and left with the cake. What happens next will leave you breathless. If you're invested in Mark and Sophie's journey, hit that like button and subscribe now to see how this story unfolds. Sophie's face when she saw the cake was worth every hardship I'd endured. Her eyes widened, and she clapped her hands in delight. "Daddy! It has paintbrushes. And it says my name." Mrs. Patel winked at me. "Very fancy, Mark. You've outdone yourself." The three of us sang, "Happy Birthday," ate cake, and played board games. Sophie opened her presents with the unbridled joy only children can express. For a few hours, our financial struggles faded into the background. After Sophie went to bed, clutching her new art set, I found a note tucked into the cake box. It was from Claire. "Mark, I can't stop thinking about how I treated you. No excuse justifies my behavior. I judged you without knowing your story, and that was wrong. If you're willing, I'd like to make it up to you. My brother owns a construction company and is looking for a project manager. The card is enclosed if you're interested. Either way, I hope Sophie had a wonderful birthday. Sincerely, Claire. I stared at the business card for a long time. Pride told me to throw it away. Responsibility to Sophie made me put it in my wallet. The next day, after much internal debate, I called the number. Claire's brother, David, seemed genuinely interested in my experience. He offered me an interview the following week. Claire mentioned you've had a rough couple of years, he said. I get it. Life happens. But she says you seem like someone who deserves a break, and I trust her judgment. The interview went well. The position paid nearly double what I was making at my 2 part-time jobs combined. 2 weeks later, I started my new job. I stopped by Sweet Delights to thank Claire. She seemed genuinely happy to see me. You didn't have to do all this, I told her. I know, she replied. But sometimes we get chances to right our wrongs. I'm glad you gave me that chance. Over the next few months, Sophie and I began rebuilding our lives. With my new salary, we moved to a better apartment. Sophie started art classes on Saturdays. I even began setting aside money for her college fund. I also started stopping by Sweet Delights regularly. At first, it was just to express my gratitude. Then it was to bring Sophie for a cookie after her art class. Eventually, it was because I enjoyed talking with Claire. 6 months after that fateful day when I'd overheard her cruel words, Claire and I sat across from each other at a small cafe. I never thought I'd be grateful for the worst moment of my professional life, she admitted. But if I hadn't been so horrible that day, we wouldn't be here now. Sometimes our lowest points lead to unexpected beginnings, I replied. 1 year later, on Sophie's 8th birthday, we celebrated with another beautiful cake from Sweet Delights. But this time, Claire joined us for the celebration. Sophie blew out her candles and announced her wish. I wished for Claire to be my new mom, she declared proudly. Claire and I exchanged startled glances, then burst out laughing. Sweetheart, you're not supposed to tell your wish, I reminded her. Sophie shrugged. I know. But I really want it to come true. Claire reached for my hand under the table. Some wishes have a way of coming true whether you tell them or not, she said softly. 3 years after I walked into Sweet Delights asking for an expired cake, Claire and I were married in a simple ceremony with Sophie as our flower girl. David was my best man, and Mrs. Patel sat in the front row, dabbing at her eyes. Life isn't perfect. We still face challenges. But we face them together now, as a family built from unexpected beginnings. Sometimes the universe has a way of turning our most humiliating moments into our greatest blessings. Sometimes the people who hurt us become the ones who heal us. And sometimes, a simple request for an expired cake can lead to an unexpired love that changes everything. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of the power of forgiveness, second chances, and the unexpected ways love finds us even in our darkest moments. Remember, it's not about how many times we fall, but how many times we rise. And sometimes, the hand that helps us up belongs to the last person we'd expect.